Welcome to Project One. Building a strong community takes each one of us, and Project One is the place to start. 1 hour, one person, one life changed. On today's show, we'll feature an organization that is changing lives and transforming our community. So get ready to be inspired. Here's the host of Project One, Jan Johnson.
We want to welcome you today to Project One, and today's program is going to be specifically special for me because it's very near and dear to my heart, and a new friend who just happened to walk into my life one day, and it was so neat to be able to hear what she's doing, and so I'm just so honored to be able to have her in studio. But before we get into all of those details, I just want to remind you about what Project One, our show that comes to you every week, is all about. It's about one person, 1 hour, and one life changed. And the whole collaborative of this program is to connect you, our listening audience, with incredible organizations like we're presenting today, where maybe you've got a similar story, maybe you've got a same experience, or maybe you just feel passionate about what we're talking about and you want to get involved. It's our goal to be able to connect you with organizations like this so you can get involved, because there's individuals out there who have started organizations and they can't do it by themselves. Often they do start it by themselves, and they need people to help, people who understand, who want to either give 1 hour or 1 day, 1 week, 1 month to be able to help in the lives of others. And so I read this and I thought, Jenny, that this is really kind of neat. It says, volunteering is the ultimate exercise in democracy. You can vote in elections once a year, which hopefully everybody got to vote yesterday.
Yes.
But when you volunteer, you vote every day about the kind of community you want to live in.
I love it.
So volunteering is very important. Mentoring is very important. But connecting with someone who has a similar story is very important. And so I'm just honored to be able to introduce our listening audience to you, Jenny Small,
thanks,
who is the founder of Overcomers.
Yes.
And so welcome, and you've got with you today Jessica Myers, and she's going to be talking a little bit with us as well today. But welcome, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being with us. So tell us about Overcomers. Give us the background.
Wow. Well, Overcomers was actually born out of my own testimony, really, of God's hand in my life through breast cancer. I was diagnosed at 39 years old while I was pregnant with my 8th child. And we, at the time, didn't know that's what it was. We thought it was just a clogged milk duct. But, of course, the OBGYN, sweet Dr. Farhart, knew differently. And we got me in for the biopsy. And then, as you know, it was crazy from there. Double mastectomy, chemotherapy.
So you did need chemo.
I did, yes. I had triple negative, and that's the only way you can treat triple negative is with chemotherapy.
Wow.
So, my biggest concern at the time, I'm a homeschool mom to 8, and my biggest concern truly was, how am I going to do my true calling, which is to minister and grow my family, and survive enough to be present. I didn't want to just be in the bed. I wanted to be present and be functioning. And God answered that prayer. I really did. He's amazing. I did amazing through chemotherapy. I mean, I had my down days, of course.
Yeah, sure.
But I was still able to. We had homeschool many times. You can kind of just envision in your mind the children on the bed with me, reading, doing arithmetic, doing writing, doing Bible time, because that's all the strength I had some days to do.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful I had that.
And you probably saw these students, your children, that you've raised and you've homeschooled, really become proactive for their own education, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And, we've used the same curriculum their entire life. And I think what was neat to see is that the big kids, at the time, my oldest was only 12. So we're talking 12, 10, 9, 8 from my older group. They all stepped up, and that training that's so important that we think, they're not paying attention to what I'm teaching, and we do our chores, but they all did. Everyone would take a lunch, and a lot of times it was peanut butter and jelly or some type of pasta dish, but we're a family, and they wanted to serve and help their mama.
That's amazing.
So I'm so thankful for
So
that.
what year were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in 2014.
And so
Yes.
Since you've had all of your surgeries, you had the chemo, you had everything.
I did.
And you're cancer-free.
I'm cancer-free. Thank you, Father. And really what happened is we anticipated when I had the double mastectomy with the reconstruction that it was going to go pretty smooth, but God had other plans.
Really?
And it's in this valley that Overcomers was born because my expanders got a terrible infection. It was such a rare infection that it took my surgeon 7 different surgeries to cut out this infection.
Oh, my word.
Plus 6 months of IV antibiotics that I was giving myself every day at the house. I had a pole and I had to keep giving myself IV with the children home, and a wound vac attached to my chest every time they would cut me open. We had to close the wound.
Oh, my word.
So it literally was a year of fighting. Honestly, the surgery cover was harder on my body than the chemo. And that really is, that was a time that I'd reached out and I'm like, I need to find other survivors. I need to find other women that have gone through this.
Yes.
And it was like every door that I knocked on, it was shut. It was like God wasn't allowing me to find anybody else because He had to work in me.
That's right.
He had to work in me so that I would be able to do what I'm doing now.
And don't you find that when you walk through an experience like really the 3 of us have, that often people don't know what to say. You're acute to every word that is being said. I know for me, I didn't Google anything, but there were times where I just had questions, and people would come and say, "Oh, I am so sorry that this happened to you." And when I heard, "Oh, I'm so sorry," I felt like they were basically just telling me, "Okay, you're going to die, and I'm just going to tell you now.
Right.
I'm sorry that, you got this." And so I was very, very conscious of it. Mm-hmm. But I was even more conscious when people said, "Oh, I really feel for you." Or some people even say, "Oh, I know what you're feeling." And I'm sitting there going, "No, you don't."
Right.
And so when I heard of your organization, I'm like, where were you when I went through this? Because if it wasn't for people like Sandy and Scott, who are very dear friends of ours, walk me through it, I don't know how people do it, one, alone, or secondly, without the Lord.
Right.
And so your organization, your ministry, and I have to call it a ministry, it's not an organization, is so vital for all women that are facing this. Mm-hmm. So you birthed Overcomers, and then what happened next?
So basically, if you can, again, I love God's sense of humor, and I love what He does, because obviously as a homeschool mom, I deal with curriculum all day long. I'm looking through brochures and pamphlets and what topic and how do we handle that, and just it's all around me. And so it was just subject after subject kept coming up, and answers that I was looking for I wasn't finding. Again, I really believe God was shutting those doors so that I couldn't find the answers.
So you have to come up with it yourself through Him.
Absolutely. I absolutely did. So what happened was, through these topics, I met with a nurse navigator that we had met through Methodist, and she partnered me, one of those dear sisters, with Jessica, and we met at Jason's Deli, and the 4 of us were like, yeah, me too. I went through this, and yes, and just lots of back and forth. And through that meeting, this curriculum was birthed in my heart. And I started to write, like, okay, all right, these are questions that survivors have. And they needed more than just a support group monthly. They needed to work this stuff out. So how does this look like, God? What does this look like? And I just started going through topic and question, until we put together a pilot class in 2015 at Methodist, just a very small 10 women, and we're like, let's run this curriculum and see what happens.
Wow.
That's what we did, didn't we, Jess?
So that was kind of your pilot program. So
it was.
How did the 2 of you get connected besides that nurse navigator at Methodist?
Actually, Jenny and I met at one of our plastic surgeons events. It was during October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah.
And they were having a bra day. And Jenny and I met briefly. And then Stacy, we share the same nurse navigator. And she, said, Jenny is wanting to start this workshop for survivors. And I really feel like you'd be a great mentor for this group. And I never questioned it. I said, absolutely.
She's like, I'm in.
Without hesitation, I'm in. Yeah.
Wow. And see, back, because mine was in 2010.
Yes.
Wow.
So they didn't have all of this that was available. And, a lot of times I made such a connection with the nurses. I'd say, if you have any patients that need help, and so they would call me and I'd come up and talk and walk them through it, but didn't have the time to fully, put myself into doing something like that. So when I heard what you guys do, I thought, Lord, what an answer to prayer for not only the physicians and the nurse managers, but they know that there's people that they can rely on that's going to come in and talk and be with others. So talk me through your first workshop. How did that go?
So with the four of us, and
Terrifying.
Was it really?
It was terrifying. It was going in blind, literally.
yeah, Jessica was like, "You want me to do what? You want me to talk?" I'm like, "Listen, I can't talk for all 9 weeks. You all have gifts, and you all have topics, and you have stories that others need to hear." And so each one of them took a topic week, and they had the curriculum, so they knew what to do, but God just led them all into their topic and their testimony, and they were able to share on the pieces that were important to them.
Tell us what some of the topics are.
So some of the tough topics, sexuality is a huge one, because obviously going through, if you're not in menopause before you go through chemotherapy, a lot of times women enter menopause and don't come out. And then also you have just the issues with the husband, and what does that look like, and how do we walk through this together as a couple. And then also for the women that are single or divorced, they have issues as well. Like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't want anyone to see me and get them to see that their beauty is inside, and the right man will love them no matter what. The inside is the spirit is what draws us to another human being. And then relationships is a huge topic week, because sadly, this is what breaks our heart with our sisters, is a lot of times either friends have left them, sometimes spouses have left them, and no fault of their own. Some people just can't handle it.
Yeah, they don't.
They can't. They can't handle it. And so we help the person that has been left behind walk through forgiveness with that person, because they need to see the entire picture. It just wasn't meant to be at that time, and it's not their fault.
Wow.
It's not their fault.
Well, we're going to stop right there, because when we go to break and we come back, I want to talk about how you're walking with others through the workshop that you do, and some other great things that are on the horizon that are coming up, like your annual gala, and which is right around the corner. So don't go anywhere. If you know someone that is either battling with cancer or dealing with it, or maybe you're on the other side of it and just need a little encouragement, tell them to tune in right now. And again, we'll be right back.
Join Project One for our quarterly mixer, where you get to meet many of the previous organizations we have featured right here on Project One. Thursday, April 5th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Documation Headquarters. You'll get to meet with leaders with many nonprofit organizations we have featured that are looking for mentors and volunteers just like you. Come see what they're all about, hear from each of them, and be a part of our live Project One recording. Light refreshments will be served, along with tours of Documation's incredible headquarters. Plus, be in our studio where we come to you weekly. That's Thursday, April 5th from 4 till 6 p.m. at the Documation Headquarters, 4560 Lock Hill Selma Road in San Antonio. Will you be the one that makes a difference in the life of another? Then join us April 5th. Plus, we'll have some great door prizes. We'll see you there.
We want to welcome you back to Project One, and we're not going to take any more time because we've got so much to discuss with Jenny Small, who is the founder and director of Overcomers, and it really is a ministry. It's not just an organization, but it is a nonprofit organization. We also have Jessica Myers here. And before the break, we left talking about this training and the program that you have for people to go through. So talk a little bit more about that, because I think it's very important for people to understand. You may have been through cancer, and came out on the other side doing great, cancer-free, or you might still be in treatments. But have you really dealt with all of the issues like we were talking about in break? Many times we think, okay, we're cancer-free, we're done it, but we don't deal with the residual that comes from it. And there's a lot of things that do follow after you've had cancer. So walk us through what your workshops are all about.
Okay. So we have set aside 9 weeks basically to deal with specific topics that we feel like are the top ones that women have said, this is something that has crept up for me and I want healing in this area. And so what we've done is every week there's a topic speaker. It's either someone from the medical community or another breast cancer survivor, because it has to be relatable and someone that understands what we've walked through. And in our sexuality week, that's really important as well. We have Dr. Farhart in, because not only is he a OBGYN, but he is a husband of a survivor.
Right.
And he brings to the table just an amazing piece for women to understand both sides, the spouse, the medical, for both of it. And so basically we have an hour that we're in basically a large group setting, and then we break into small groups. And the small groups are with trained facilitators, women that have actually gone through the workshop themselves. They have been trained through the small group training program at Cornerstone Church through Sonterra Building, and they have been mentored by another survivor for at least a year before they are able to take on their own small group, just to make sure that they completely understand everything that happens and learn the dynamics of a small group setting, because it's one thing, as you know, to sit in and be a participant, another thing completely to be able to handle other women and their hurts and their needs, and to be prayerful with them in these small group times.
And a lot of times, the less that is said when someone is going through something is the better. Sometimes people just need to talk.
Listen, and we listen.
So really, through the workshops, you're also looking for people who will go through the training,
absolutely,
but become mentors,
absolutely,
for others.
Because what we're very mindful. We know that we could fill a room of 50 and it would be amazing, but that's not what God has asked us to do. He's asked us to do one life at a time. That's our mission. And so to keep that small, we make sure that the small groups are very small, and we don't flood a bunch of people in it, because it's important that everybody has a voice.
Right.
If you're in a giant room, some of these women have never had a chance, and Jessica knows this, have not had a chance to share their story. They're so quiet. They haven't, and if you put them in a large group, they get silenced again, and then they can't heal.
Yes.
So the more facilitators and leaders we have, the more small groups we can create.
So this is really a time that I would encourage you that as you're listening to this, I think the statistics for people who have been affected by cancer, either themselves or in their family, or they know of someone, you might want to get involved. And I would encourage you to get in touch with Jenny. We have all of the information of how to get in touch with them by going to this station's website and clicking on the tab Project One. We'll have all of the connection information. Plus, they will be coming to our mixer on April the 7th, right at our studios here at Documation, which is located at Lock Hill, Selma, and Loop 1604, where you can talk with them and say, look, I'm either a survivor or I'm going through it, and I'd love to be a part of the workshop. Or you might be someone who says, I've walked that. I didn't have it, like I said, but I would love to come and go through this so I can help others. And I think it's so important that you don't just say, oh, you've been through it, let me make you a facilitator, because they need to experience what it is. And just because you've walked through it does not mean that you're capable to walk with someone else. So talk about that a little bit, Jessica, if you would.
Well, it's what we do, I think, is such a need in our community. People mistake us as being, like a, what do you call it?
A support group.
And we're not a support group. I mean, we're offering a service to women who really need it.
Yes.
And so, and I was actually one of those people who were very silent in the first class. And Jenny, she would keep saying, are you okay? Are you okay? And I said, yeah, I just, I wasn't comfortable in that big setting, because we were all one big group during our first session, our first pilot group. And so, and for me to go through that, I really learned a lot about myself just going through that class. And really with each class that I mentor, makes me just even better and better. I mean, I feel like I'm, have come so far from the day that I started.
And how long has it been for you?
I was diagnosed in 2015, the end of 2015.
Wow.
So,
and you're doing well?
Doing great. Yeah, doing great.
Good. So again, I just really encourage our listeners to get involved.
Absolutely.
Go through the workshop, because even if you've not been affected by cancer, at some point you will be faced with it, even if it's a friend or a coworker, and to be personally trained on what to say and what they're going to go through is such a valuable experience.
It's a great way to give back.
Exactly.
It is.
And a lot of times when you're faced with a life-altering situation, and you come through on the other side, you feel so thankful and you do want to give back. But again, for those who may not face cancer themselves, to be able to walk alongside with someone else and know what they're going through is so important. So you might not want to become a mentor, but I would encourage you to go through a class so that way you know and can direct others to be there. But again, if you are a survivor or you're currently going through it, and you know that you could walk with someone, because there are a lot of questions, and like for myself, I never Googled anything.
Right.
And I wish that I had have known of that your ministry was around when I went through it, because if it wasn't for just a handful of friends that walked with me and we learned together, and my amazing husband and my daughters, they walked with me. There are women out there that don't have that.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And, the beautiful part about this, with the ministry is that my husband, him and another facilitator have 4 classes a year for the husbands.
That's fantastic.
Yes. And the next class is coming up on March 24th. And we are so excited because, again, they ran a pilot class as well last year, and it was very successful. And we've got 4 of them on the books this year because the husbands need a place to dump. Mm-hmm. And we made it just a one-day class because we know their time is precious. But we have had really good feedback from that. And the men have just... It's kind of like when they're kids, they get in that fist fight and that brawl, and they shake it off and they walk away and go, okay, I'm good. Yeah. That's what they need.
Yes,
they need that. I need someone to understand what I've gone through and all these hurts, and to be able to, vocalize and say, you know what, I thought my wife was going to die. Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell her that because I had to support her, but I need a place too. Yes. So we've got that, and we're very, very excited for that class coming up.
Now, what are some ways that people, if they do want to get involved, do they just reach out? What is the process after they've gone through the workshop that you get people actually signed up to be a mentor or a facilitator to walk them through?
So basically, at the end of every class, we always, we have a survey, and they fill it out and let us know kind of how the class was and what, and we ask on there, do you feel led to be a facilitator? Is this something that you want to do? They fill out yes, and then I plug them in and I wait for the next class to be offered at Sonterra to plug them into that class. And this, of course, is after meeting with me and making sure that they have been prayerful, because a lot of times I know we want to help, but maybe that isn't the area that they need to help it. The blessing is, because the organization is growing and we have our gala coming up, we have had a lot of our past participants say, I know I didn't want to facilitate, but sign me up to help. And we've got greeters, and we've got hostesses, and we've got silent auction. I mean, anywhere that we're doing something, we have a list of volunteers that are like, we want to help you.
Well, and again, your gala's coming up.
Yay.
And I am so excited that our station is going to be there, and I'm going to be there and get to honor at least my physician and, of course, my other doctors. So I'm just really thrilled about that. But if you've got a business out there and you think, well, I would love to donate a silent auction, my life has been affected by cancer, I can't get involved as far as being a mentor. Can they get in touch with you and say, look, we'd love to be able to donate? And, of course, you are a 501c3, so the big give is coming up soon. So make sure that you look up Overcomers and get involved to support them. But what kind of silent auction or what items could you even get, not only for this gala coming up, but for future ones? What do you look for?
Yeah, we've just been so fortunate with the ladies that have been out there. They've just really been hitting the pavement with several businesses trying to get us package deals.
Spa packages.
Yes, spa packages.
Hotel packages.
Wine
packages.
Wine, I know. Jan's over here going, yay.
Fishing packages.
Yes.
And
Because what we're doing, the whole purpose of the gala is because we are holding our very first breast cancer retreat in September. It's going to be at Port Aransas, and we'll be putting up applications for that very soon.
And what's that all about?
Yes. So we wanted a place for our sisters to be able to get away and to heal even more than what they get in the workshop setting. And the Lord really put on my heart to do Port Aransas because they are rebuilding as well.
Oh,
they are physically rebuilding, and so are we. And we have a beautiful house lined up, and we can take 30 women, and all of the money from this gala is going so that we can bless sisters to go to this over the weekend.
That's incredible.
So we're excited.
That is so neat. Yes. Well, again, it's just an honor to have Jenny Small and also Jessica Myers here in studio to be able to educate you on Overcomers. And again, this is an organization that is reaching the lives of countless women, but they also need to reach more. And so
Yes.
with your help, your participation, your involvement, I strongly encourage you to reach out and get in touch. You can go to the station's website, click on the tab Project One, and you'll have all of the information on how to get in touch with them, how you can get involved, how you can donate, and also how you can connect them with other people, because that's what Project One is all about. It's just one person, 1 hour, one life changed. And you're definitely, Jenny, changing the lives of so many people, but with the direction of the Holy Spirit. And so thank you for being sensitive to that. Thank you for being available to minister to others.
Well, and I have to give a shout out to my team, because without their help and
Yes.
their sacrifice as well, I couldn't do this. And so, leadership team, I love you. I thank you. I thank my right-hand person, Jessica Myers, and of course my family, because my husband is a rock and my 8 kids, they're a blessing.
Wow. And come meet them at our next mixer
come see the
on
family.
April the 5th, right here at Documation. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next week on Project One.